Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Faith and Fandom Feedback Friday podcast. Hope you are all doing well. Coming to you from this last Friday in June. A lot been going on. It's been girthy. Uh, it's not been a bad month, but man, I am not unhappy to see this month go. So we'll see how July plays out. I don't know. They're not necessarily always better months, but I'm excited to see just this chapter shut for a little bit. Um, Hope you're doing well. We're coming to you pretty early and on time for this morning. If you are watching on Facebook Live, we're also on TikTok on our new Faith and Fandom TikTok channel. You can find that there. You'll also be able to catch us on YouTube and wherever you're listening on your podcast. Thank you for joining us. No matter where you are and what you're involved with, we're glad you're here. Dad Bod, good morning over there. But yeah, grateful for y'all being here. And it's a girthy not girthy news, but there's been a good amount of news this week. So let's jump right into it as we hit this month, week, whatever day. Today is the day that Switchfoot's Forever Now album drops. I've been pretty looking forward to this one. Their last album, Interrobang, did not, I don't think it was a bad album. I just don't think it tracked with people the way that a lot of people hope for, but this one definitely feels like it's kind of right on target. I've not listened to it yet. Tristan has told me it's good, but he's, in the future in Australia. But I do plan on listening to that today. But on news beyond Switchfoot's album releasing, the Jonas Brothers this week surprised Switchfoot with the announcement that they will be headlining the Grand Ole Opry for the first time coming up in on July 23rd. The Jonas Brothers showed up and gave Switchfoot a cookie cake with their Grand Ole Opry date on it, which was pretty cool. And that's how they let them know that they would be having that honor for the first time. So the Switchfoot Jonas Brothers relationship has just always been a fun one because the Jonas Brothers genuinely credit Switchfoot's The Beautiful Letdown album for the fact that they ever wanted to be musicians, and they even performed on the 20th anniversary of it on that album, so it's pretty neat. So Jonas Brothers announced Switchfoot's Grand Ole Opry entrance. Miles Minnick becomes the first Christian rapper ever to be named in the XXL freshman class. If you aren't aware of the terms of the hip hop world, XXL is a news publication focused on hip hop, formerly a print magazine, maybe still a print magazine, but they are kind of a foremost source on hip hop news. And XXL usually has what they call their freshman class, which are the best of hip hop premiering within a certain time period. And a lot of artists that XXL have like named in the freshman class have gone on to become really big in terms of artists. And Miles Minnick is the first Christian rapper to actually be included in XXL's freshman class. So congratulations to Miles Minnick. Um, Most of y'all have heard of him doing some stuff with Lecrae. He's also done plenty of other stuff, but he's definitely a uh, he's a good rapper. He reminds me of a cooler Pigeon John, if that means anything to anybody in the hip hop community. There was controversy this week as a 13-year-old boy uh, was seen falling slash jumping out of uh, Tiana's Bayou Adventure at Disney. Um, and it was less of a safety thing with the ride and more of the fact that the kid climbed out of the ride right at the height of the big drop and then slid down the ride on his own body. He was technically fine. He did get some bumps and stuff, but he was taken to a hospital for uh, observation and treatments, and then released. But the parents are also talking about suing. But here's the thing. If it wasn't a safety issue and your kid climbed out, hey, little one, good morning. If your kid climbed out of a roller coaster ride out of their own volition, I feel like you're responsible for that. That's a you thing. That's a you and your parenting thing. I don't think that's a you need to be mad at Disney thing. But do what you got to do. Um, but yeah, that happened. Other news this week. Do. Uh, okay. So one of the more interesting news pieces this week that definitely crossed my feed. Initially, I saw a video with no context of an elderly man chasing a younger man across the street and beating him within an inch of his life. And I'm like watching this video with no context, no sound, no text. And I'm thinking, why is nobody stopping this old man from beating up this young man? Uh, then I came to actually see the story playing out a little bit more. And this was from the Life Tabernacle Church of Central Louisiana. And Pastor Tony Spell was pummeling a man who apparently had been repeatedly harassing them. But that morning, he had this young man had threatened to, uh, I don't, on the live streams, I have to be careful of the words, but he was going to assault uh, this pastor's daughters, grandchildren, and wife. And then said that the next time he was gone out of town, he was going to kill them all. And so this pastor uh literally walked across the street from the church and beat this man down like in a severe way. He was arrested. He was is being charged with second degree battery. Um and in the most dad joke, pastor joke level, um while he was being arraigned and arrested, he actually stated um he was fulfilling scripture with this beat down, saying that he was laying on hands. And like, yeah, it's that level. But again, if a man says he's going to do that to your daughters and your children, I think that's a line. That's a line of like, uh, mm, it's a rough place to be. I wouldn't want to be in there. What We Do in the Shadows, the movie is now getting a sequel. The original movie that spawned off the hit FX TV show is now moving forward with a sequel to the film, um, starring Taika Waititi, Jermaine Clement, and the whole crew from the original film. If you're a fan, that is getting a new life. In a major piece of news specifically to my community and area, the Lumbee tribe officially voted no to the amendment that would allow them to have a move forward with gaming, gambling, and opening a giant casino. There is a plan for the Lumbee tribe to open a giant casino right on 95, somewhere between exit 10 and exit 2, which is kind of right in that prime Camp Grace area. And it was considered by a lot of people the way forward for the tribe and for the way for them to move forward as a federally recognized tribe and community. And it, I want to say it had like a 37 yes, around 60-ish no. vote, and it caused a lot of issues with the people who are actually, very adamant, and it's kind of divisive in our culture right now. So, obviously, that's an ongoing story, but the current vote is no on that casino. Yes. Uh, Announced a little bit ago that there's going to be a new Adventure Time series. Well, now there's another new Adventure Time series. Adventure Time, Bubblegum, and Marceline will also be coming to HBO Max, if that's your jam. There will be a live action uh, Magic School Bus produced and starring Elizabeth Banks as Ms. Frizzle. I actually really think that's a great casting choice. I love Elizabeth Banks. She's very passionate about fandoms, and I think she'll do really good with that overall. So Elizabeth Banks is bringing the Magic School Bus to life. And other news that I don't have any problem with, Jindy Tartovsky, the guy who's responsible for Samurai Jack and the Powerpuff Girls and Primal and those things, is going to be bringing Conan the Barbarian to life for a new series on Prime Video. So we will get an animated Conan done by Jindy. So I think that'll go really well. By the way, the numbers were 37% no, 37% yes, 62% no for the casino for Robinson County. Mhm. Uh, Ella Langley, who is a musician, has been surprising her concert goers and feed with a dramatic turn of testimony about her relationship with Christ. Um, she says that my relationship with Christ has changed over the last 365 days. I went every show of my life without ever mentioning his name, not to be able to shut up about it now. So she's had a big swing around in how much she's sharing about this. With the Odyssey movie about to drop from Christopher Nolan, uh, Tristan, good morning, dude. Sir Michael Caine has given permission for an AI generated voice narration of the Odyssey to be released ahead of the Christopher Nolan movie. So, an AI Michael Caine will be doing the official audiobook for the Odyssey. Now, there are other great actors who actually, read that thing and do it. And I get it, Sir Michael Caine is older, but no. Speaking of Jindy Tartovsky, but also not including him, there's a new attempt at bringing the Powerpuff Girls back to life. That will be happening. The Powerpuff Girls are in the works for a new animated film from Warner Brothers. In the near future, we should be seeing something with that. Just local to Fayetteville, North Carolina news. The dank burrito that shut down will now officially be becoming Touchdown Wings. Toby Mac has announced a Heaven on My Mind guest list edition, which is, if you aren't familiar with how Noah Khan has been doing things, Noah Khan will release an album, then release an album version that includes guest versions coming on to perform all the tracks with him. Uh, that my daughter really enjoyed. Toby Mac is now doing the same thing with he's releasing the Heaven on My Mind guest list edition today. It's an expanded version of his last big album, and it features a collection of tracks, fan favorites, and brand new recordings with guests. So if that's anything remotely on your jam, that's also out today. Uh, comic uh, artist Greg Capullo is calling out Marvel for not paying lesser known artists on time and actually making them wait and be behind on things, and saying that you wouldn't treat me this way. James Patterson, who is already one of the most prolific writers of history, I don't know of any le- person in history who's written as much as James Patterson. But James Patterson is now teaming up to write a book. Well, he's already teamed up. It's happened. He's teamed up with Mr. Beast uh, to put out a book called The Most Dangerous Games. Cassidy, good morning, homie. But Mr. Beast and James Patterson have a book called The Most Dangerous Games. Um, and it comes out September 1st. Now, I don't know what Mr. Beast is bringing to the table for a James Patterson book, unless he's just, taking an episode of one of his game shows and putting it together. But they work together. They made a new thing, and it's a billion-dollar prize in the fate of humanity, um, with like a Mr. Beast style challenge. It's the whole thing. Tristan says he was just listening to Toby Mac's new album before it started streaming. Uh, how's it going? How is that album? Yeah, I know you've already listened to Switchfoot. I don't know what's going on in my backyard, but there are things going on that don't sound natural. But it's okay, I think. Kelly, good morning, bro. Obsession has um done more things. It has officially made 40,000% of its budget at this point in time, or 45,000% of its budget. So that's just kind of crazy. Donkey from Shrek will officially be getting his own spin-off movie in 2028. Because we're still going and that's still a thing. Uh, a former JP Morgan executive was fined and is now fired from JP Morgan Chase after being the person who emptied out a Knicks themed trash can in New York and stole the trash can. Um, there was a viral video of a lady emptying out a Knicks colored trash can, pouring out all the trash on the ground, and then walking away with the trash can. This person was later identified and fired by JP Morgan. Camp Mystic, the Texas camp that uh, the Texas camp that was not the victim, but I guess the right word to say it, the Texas camp that was affected by the flooding in Texas just over a year ago, has officially filed for bankruptcy. This was the camp that was flooded in the middle of the night during a terrible flood. 27 campers and counselors died in that flood. And as someone who used to run a camp and has also been flooded twice, I don't think there was anything they could have done about that other than the fact that if they had known that there was something else coming, to not have it. Um, but there's a lot of wrongful death and malpractice suits and things that are being lodged at Camp Mystic, and so they've officially filed for bankruptcy in the midst of this process, which is sad to see. Uh, there is a giraffe named Gracie on the loose in Texas. If you happen to be in Texas and you see a giraffe, ask it if its name is Gracie because its owners want it to come home. But there's a privately owned giraffe running around Texas, and it has been for over 2 weeks and has somehow managed to avoid capture for 2 weeks in Texas. I don't know how a giraffe runs around Texas for 2 weeks without getting caught, but it does. And that's currently what's happening. So, Gracie, come home. Uh, yeah. At least 164 people died and over 971 people were injured as a two earthquakes with magnitudes of more than seven hit Venezuela in this a giant disaster zone. Um, Cassidy said she would go ahead and close up shop too. That's a lot of lives. Very sad. It is a lot of lives. And here's my thing with it though. Like, it's a lot of lives, but it was a natural disaster. And but also like as a parent. like that's not a place you want to be sending your kids to afterwards and stuff like that. It's a hard situation. But I just know that if that had happened at the camp that I'm associated with, like I would be heartbroken in that presence, in that process too. Um, the giraffe learned to tuck and hide. I don't know. Somebody probably showed it Madagascar and it took notes. I'm lost with that too. But yeah, the Venezuela was hit with those earthquakes, and it's just been a rough situation. Now, that kind of scared me hearing this week too, because my kid is over in Ecuador and the Galapagos and not crazy far from all this. So, um, yeah, that's a lot. Uh, a teen has pleaded guilty to killing his classmate over a pair of Beats headphones. Jamier Perry admitted to fatally shooting 15-year-old Derek Harris Jr. Outside the Pittsburgh school in 2023. Um, like kid just shot another 15-year-old over a pair of headphones. He's now facing 35 years to life. A high school senior who has been videoed setting a sleeping man on a New York City subway on fire has been sentenced to more than 5 years. And I'm just like, the guy who was set on fire survived due to quick emergency services and stuff, but he is permanently scarred and disfigured. But this high school senior set a sleeping guy on fire for kicks and giggles. And I don't know, I feel like that deserves more than 5 years. Um, but again, I'm not the criminal justice system. Uh, you can now play as Nicolas Cage in Call of Duty Black Ops 7. So if you've ever wanted to play as Nicolas Cage while playing Call of Duty, the world is your oyster. You can now do that. Supergirl and Crypto and Olivia Rodrigo are now able to be playable characters in Fortnite. Um, Supergirl is officially out in theaters as well. I went to go see it yesterday and was not able to see it because the movie theater changed the times since the last time I checked. Like, I checked the day before that and the day before that, and it had the Thursday time listed at 3. I showed up and at 3, and they had moved the time to 2:30. So I'm gonna go see it today. Um, but yeah. Hasbro has is now under fire with child activists, parenting, and a lot of other things. And a lot of stuff going down because Peppa Pig, as an entity of Hasbro, um, had tried to force their child actors for the Peppa Pig show into signing over their rights as voice actors to AI. And apparently they tried to do it without proper adult representation or legal representation. They basically tried to get kids to sign away their rights for their voice to be used through AI without proper consent. And so Hasbro is facing some heat with that. Um, yeah, for real. Um, okay, to get the exact quote from Pastor Tony Spell, the pastor who beat up the man who threatened to rape his family. Sorry, I shouldn't have said that on the live streams because it's gonna be mad at me. But uh, he said, "I fulfilled the scripture. I laid hands on the sick," is what he told his congregation following his charges of battery for the man who threatened the violence and actions against his children and grandchildren and wife. Oh, GameStop has officially let out the pre-order for Grand Theft Auto 6. Um, Tristan says your new favorite pastor. I knew he was going to be somebody's new favorite pastor, but dude, I mean, like, I watched that beat down, and like that was relentless. Like that was some Mortal Kombat finishing move stuff. That guy did not have. That guy was just not expecting that. Um, Grand Theft Auto 6 is officially available for pre-order, and the world is not totally happy with the idea of Grand Theft Auto being solely digital. Um, Cassidy, I think you might have come on after that, but a guy who lived next to the church, who I guess is frequently harassing them, threatened to assault his children, grandchildren, and wife, and the next time that he was going to be gone out of town, that he was going to murder them. And so the pastor just literally walked out into the parking lot, and then like mollywopped this guy. And then when he was arrested and put before his congregation, he says he fulfilled scripture by laying hands on the sick. Um, yeesh. All right, Grand Theft Auto. Uh, Grand Theft Auto is they're available for pre-order for six, and it comes in two versions. The standard version at $80 and the big version at $100, but there are no physical copies. It's all digital. You can buy a physical copy at GameStop, but the physical copy comes with the box, the poster, the map, and a code, no discs. So people are buying physical copies from GameStop just to get a box and a poster and a map, but you will not get a physical copy of the game. And they're saying this because it's too big. Um, Currently, as seen estimated, the game is so big that it would take seven full game discs to put it on disc, and it's not worth it to do it on disc. What that also tells me is that whatever system you're playing on, you better clear some space. Because you're gonna have to delete every game on your hard drive um, to be able to play GTA 6. It's just my guess because I'm gonna tell you this, I can't play a single game without having to clean some space because I've got some old stuff that I've bought that is just not riding on there. So I don't know if I'm gonna have to buy an attachment or whatever else. But yeah, GTA 6 will not be physical. Three animated TV series were announced by DC this week. Joker Laugh Riot, which is a series of the Joker investigating the death of Batman on the level of being a detective. Um, Cassidy, going back to GTA, says, does this mean you also can't play offline? It's just every way they can make you give them money for something. Once it's downloaded, you'll be able to play the, I think, main campaign online, but yeah, not much. You probably will have to stay online for that. But yeah, they're gonna milk that. But in Joker Left Right, apparently Batman has been murdered, and the Joker is trying to solve who murdered Batman in a weird, creepy detective series. There's also a crypto cartoon, which I'm assuming will be for more for the little kids, and the one that has officially blown up the comic book levels of box office, Absolute Batman will be coming to as an animated series, with which that announcement that automatically made comic book sales and values go through the roof. So if you have vintage copies of Absolute Batman, they are now worth more because of this cartoon. It may not last forever, but right now that's where it's at. Memorial to Christians killed by jihadist violence in Nigeria has officially been unveiled. It's a monument bearing the names of the 270 Christians killed in last year's Yelwata Father's Day massacre. It has been unveiled in Nigeria's Benue state. It is believed to be Nigeria's first such memorial. But if you haven't been aware, there have been like mass killings and stuff. happening on a regular basis to people of faith in Nigeria. And the Father's Day massacre was one of the largest. Um, and so there is a monument that has been released to that, and it honestly looks like it's a weird triangle type thing, but you could check it out. Um, Dolly Parton has officially thrown her hat in the ring uh, with her own like over the top gas station. If you're familiar with Americans' love for Buc-ee's and that nature, Dolly has officially opened her own in Cornersville, Tennessee, called Dolly's with a curvaceous silhouette of Dolly on the signage. It is part gas station, part barbecue restaurant, part coffee shop, part museum, part merch station, part picnic area, an activity center, and it looks amazing. And Dolly was there for the ribbon cutting, and when asked why she was opening a gas station, she, quote, as she threw shade at Bucky's, well, I couldn't leave it to the Beavers. And so if you are in the Tennessee area and you want to go check out Dolly's, that's a whole thing. But the video of her cutting the ribbon is all over the place. Skillet has officially become the first Christian band uh, to have 1 billion streams on Spotify for one song. Their song Monster has surpassed 4 billion streams as they announced the 20th anniversary of the tour for Comatose. So that is happening. Uh, 200 more than 200 people attended Cleveland for Christ as the Cleveland Browns players shared testimonies and baptisms uh, and a night of worship. Several attendees made first-time commitments for Christ in that capacity. That might be our news. I need to double check everything. I don't think it is. I think I missed some stuff, but we're gonna run right back through it. There, the most recent issue of Superman number 39, will gain value if you can get your hands on it because it has a misprint in color, which changes the character structure of the story. There is a panel with Batman uh, carrying a wounded Bat family member with the caption that says, "No, it was you. It's always been you, Prime. Your lasso making him see the truth. Wonder Woman, you got him." Uh, and so there's this panel, and it looks like Batman is carrying Nightwing, but in fact, it is Jason Todd. It is supposed to be Red Hood, and they colored the panel wrong. It got corrected before the issue went out, but somehow the uncorrected panel went in, and it's a big mistake. So if you got an original edition of Superman 39, it could be worth more money with that. Joseph McGrail Badeup, this is some of your people, Tristan, an Australian professional air conditioner cleaner, is now been recognized as the world's loudest person. Joseph can yell a single word at 122.4 decibels. Um, that is the range of a chainsaw, a jet or a jetcraft engine, or an ambulance siren at close range. Um, so he's loud. So great thing. Thanks, Joseph. Covered the Switchfoot thing. I think I got these guys. Let's see. Making sure all my news covers. What's this guy? Rival recognition. Oh, that was one I didn't get. There we go. France has reported its first Ebola case after a doctor returned from the Congo. has tested positive. Nancy Guthrie's, Nancy Guthrie's kidnappers reportedly apologized for her death in a new ransom note. So, uh, apparently the lady they've been holding hostage has died, and they apologized for it. In Norway, you can win a free copy of GTA 6 if you have a baby born on the day it releases. So you would have already had to have, been working on that, but you get a free copy of GTA 6 if your baby is born on the day it releases. Um, Tristan says, "Dang, that's loud." And I thought my wife was loud without her hearing aids. Mackenzie Scott, who is the ex-wife of Jeff Bezos, Amazon founder, um, she alone gave 1/3 of the biggest donations in the world last year. There were $19.2 billion in large gifts given philanthropically last year, and she gave 1/3 of that $19.2 billion. And just as a note, 26 million of that went to the college I work at. Um, Molly Shannon, SNL star, received her star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Cassidy says a free video game for Father's Day Prezi. Um, yeah. Molly Shannon received her star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, so that happened. Uh, I don't know why, and I don't know who's signing up for this. But Paranormal Activity, like, yeah, you know what I'm talking about, like Paranormal Activity, the horror movie, um, is getting a Broadway show. And yeah, Paranormal Activity is getting a Broadway show, and that's a thing. Well, I don't know why. I don't know who's going to Broadway for jump scares. But yeah, that might be all the news. Okay, yep, that's all the news. All right. So, with that, let's do our reading. If you aren't familiar, we do our roll for initiative Bible reading. We've got somewhere in here, there's a get ready for some ASMR. Ta-da. Dice. All right. No, I've never actually listened to see what that sounds like on a microphone, so I'm sorry. Um, we've got our rock, paper, scissors dice. So, uh, rock is Old Testament, scissors is New Testament, and paper is the whole Bible. So we're gonna roll to see what we read. I don't have my dice tower. Cassidy says the undead love to sing and dance. Come on, yeah, I feel you. I don't have my dice tower on me. It's packed away somewhere from Heroes Con, and I don't know where because I didn't remember seeing it at the show I did last week. And so I don't know where my dice tower is. I'm gonna find it. It's there. It's got to exist somewhere. Um, but we're gonna roll and see what book we're reading at or what section we're reading out of. Oh, hold on. I hit myself. All right, that is the whole Bible. So that means we need three D20s and a D10. There's one D20, two D20, three D20, and a D10. All right, we're going to see what we're reading. We're going to add these together and subtract um, three. So we got 11, 12, 10, and 16. That's pretty high. So we've got 33, uh, 43, And did I say that right? 33. So I did that wrong. Sorry. My math is not math fully. That is a 23, 33, and then 16 is 49. Subtract 3 is going to give us 46. So we will be in the 46th book of the Bible. And let's see. That will put us in the New Testament. So 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46. We'll be in First Corinthians, and I know that's got at least 15, I believe. 1247 would be in First Corinthians. And oh, yep, it's more than 15. I was at least right about that part. And it is 16. I was close. All right, so there's 16 chapters in First Corinthians. So we're going to roll and see which chapter we're on. We'll just do a D20 and we'll subtract. Or we won't subtract, we'll just go with it. Whatever number we get that's less than 17. All right, so rolling to see what we got. We are going to be in First Corinthians chapter 7. So, First Corinthians chapter 7. First Corinthians is a love letter, Cassidy, and some of it's like I love to hate how dumb you are. Not you personally, but like Paul goes off on some people in First Corinthians too. There is the love letter part's great, but Paul be swinging on some Corinthians real hard. Mark this in our journal thing. First Corinthians chapter 7. This is only the second time we've been in First Corinthians on this podcast for the news. So First Corinthians chapter 7, we're going to be logging this in our Faith and Fandom devotional journal. Um, I'm going to run out of pages one of these days. I'm going to be super surprised. I've been doing this long enough. All right. The date is 626. It is Stitch Day. And I'm gonna say something that's gonna make people mad at me. I've never seen Lilo and Stitch. Um, in any form. Live action, animated TV series, nothing. I get people like it. I'm not against it. Just never watched it. First Corinthians chapter 7. So that's where we're gonna go. All right. First Corinthians chapter 7 is principles of marriage. Yay, dice. All right. Now concerning the things of which you wrote me, it is good for a man not to touch a woman. Nevertheless, because of sexual immorality, let each man to have his own wife, and let each woman her own husband. Let the husband render to his wife his affection due her, and likewise also the wife to her husband. The wife does not have authority over her own body, but the husband does. And likewise the husband does not have authority over his own body, but the wife does. So mutual authority there. Do not deprive one another except with consent for a time, that you may give yourselves to fasting and prayer and come together again, so that Satan does not tempt you because of your lack of self-control. But I say this as a concession, not as a commandment, for I wish that all men were as even I am myself, but each one has his own gift from God, and that one in this manner is another time. But I say to the unmarried and to the widows, it is good for you to remain even as I am. But if they cannot exercise self control, let them marry, for it is better to marry than to burn with passion. Um, why are you a little disappointed, Tristan? Oh, for Lilo and Stitch? I'm sorry. It's never been intentional. I was like just not at that point in time. Um, I just feel sad that he doesn't know the joy. I apologize that I don't know the joy. I'll get there. It'll happen. My friend Michelle, who's one of our Patreon supporters and everything, she's a big Lilo and Stitch person. I have a Lilo and Stitch shirt that she made, but I've not watched Lilo and Stitch. Um, but yeah. So little note on Paul here with this marriage stuff. Um, as he's saying, verse 7, for I wish that all men were even as I all men were even as I myself, but each one has his own gift from God in the manner another that. But I say to the unmarried and to the widows, it is good for them if they remain even as I am. But if they cannot exercise self-control, let them marry, for it is better to marry than to burn with passion. So, yeah, I'm sorry. I watched I haven't watched Lilo and Stitch, but I did watch uh Vash. I watched Trigun, so give me points. But this thing from Paul here, it's one of these things that doesn't get a lot of clarity, but just for the sake of discussion, um, Paul is saying that it's better to be single than to be married, at least in the place that he's at. And it is it's not 100% spelled out and said in this capacity, but Paul is most likely widowed, even though it doesn't say it directly. And here's why. And this is just on the logic scale of things. To be the level of Pharisee that Paul was, you had to have been married. That's like a legal requirement. You couldn't be Paul's level of Pharisee and be single. But on the same conjuncture, you also couldn't be Paul's level of Pharisee and be divorced. So for Paul to be as single as he is in this passage and uh not be married means that he had to have been married and no longer be married. And the only way that qualifies is for him to have been widowed. And he does mention being widow as a similar place that he's at. So that's this kind of passage is uh that kind of is this indication of where people get the concept that Paul was married and now isn't. All right, verse 10. Now to the married I command, yet not I, but the Lord. A wife is not to depart from her husband, but even if she does depart, let her remain unmarried or be reconciled to her husband, as a husband is not to divorce his wife, and a husband is not to divorce his wife. But to the rest, I, not the Lord, say, if any brother has a wife who does not believe, and she is willing to live with him, let him not divorce her. And a woman who has a husband who does not believe, if he is willing to live with her, let her not divorce him. For the unbelieving husband is sanctified by the wife, and the unbelieving wife is sanctified by the husband. Otherwise, your children would be unclean, but now that you are holy. But if the unbeliever departs, let him depart. A brother or sister is not under bondage in such cases. Um, but God has called us to peace. For how do you know, O wife, whether you will save your husband, or you know, O husband, whether you will save your wife? Um, Kelly is going in for your procedure, bro. Let's take a moment. Let's pray for Kelly. God, thank you for uh, Kelly and the fact that you've kept him here, that you've kept him alive, that you've brought him through so many encounters. And God, Kelly's about to go in for a surgery right now. I just ask that you would be with him, that you would strengthen his body, that you would strengthen his spirit and encourage him. That even in this moment, that he is not alone, that I'm praying for him, that you are with him, that there's others who love him. God, I ask that you would give Kelly a great procedure, that he would be able to go through all of this smoothie, heal, and be stronger through it. In Christ's name, amen. Love you, dude, and I hope things go well with it. I really do. Um, with this passage where uh, Paul is talking about if you're married to an unbeliever, stay married to them if they're like, and he's going through this conversation. This isn't, I'm not taking chunks out of anything else, but just like to put the context of it. This is specifically addressing the folks who have become believers in this process since Jesus has died, risen, and like the church is starting, because all of a sudden you've got people believing in a new faith and a new way of salvation that didn't exist prior to their marriages. Um, so like this is not like, they've been dating for 15 years and then got married and, in that capacity. This was Jesus coming and dying happened during their relationships. So he's saying, like, listen, if you believe this, but your husband doesn't, don't leave them over it. You might bring them around. Um, like I've seen, especially like with like premarital counseling and stuff like that, that people will use this passage as a way of saying, well, I'm gonna date this dude, and to the point that he comes to be a Christian. In context, this is saying if you found faith while you were in this relationship, don't leave the person that doesn't. Um, but like evangelical dating, like dating for evangelism purposes, uh, is not the route to go. Just saying that. It says, "Live as you are called, but as God has distributed to each one of the Lord." Sorry, but as God has distributed to each one, as the Lord has called each one, so let him walk. And I ordain and call, and I ordain in all the churches. But I like this phrase here is like basically live out the situation you've been given. Um, um, and Cassidy just said these passages always make me the most curious because I'm trying to figure out how to apply them in my life. Same girl, same. It's just that these are all different, but this is where he says, verse 17, he's like, listen, whatever your situation has ended up being, live it out to your best. Verse 18 says, was anyone called while circumcised? Let him not become uncircumcised. Was anyone called while uncircumcised? Let him not become uncircumcised. Circumcision is nothing, and uncircumcision is nothing, but keeping the commandments of God is what matters. And so Paul's just saying, listen, trying to fit everybody else's expectations isn't going to matter as much as you actually living out your life where God's called you to. Verse 20 says, let each one remain in the same calling in which he was called. Were you called while a slave? Don't be concerned about it. But if you can be made free, rather use it. For he who is called in the Lord while a slave is the Lord's freed man. Likewise, he who is called while free is Christ's slave. You were bought at a price. Do not become slaves of men. Brethren, let each one remain with God in the state in which he was called. And going further, there's a big old, one more big old chunk. Second, though. Cassie, I'm gonna read this out loud, so if I shouldn't say it. The man I wanted to marry and gave a decade of my life to died, came back to life and put hands on me, and I'm the widow on put hands on me. Am I the widow or the divorcee? Girl, that is rough. I'm just glad you're here. So whatever comes after that, I'm glad you're here. But I gotta fix this thing for there we go. TikTok keeps trying to kick me off. Um, no, that is a valid it is a valid question, if for real. Um, I think either way, you just need to be in a good place. But oof. I would say widow. Like that's just me, man. But at this point in time, you be in the right place where you need to be. Um, oh, some days I hate the dice rolls just because of the awkward it lands on. Now concerning virgins, I have no commandment from the Lord. Yet I give judgment as one whom the Lord in his mercy has made trustworthy. Paul just straight up says, "Hey, virgins, I got nothing for you, but I've learned some things about God, so let's chat." I suppose, he says, I suppose, like, I guess, fam. I suppose, therefore, that this is good because of the present distress, that it is good for a man to remain as he is. He's like, man, life sucks. He probably better off being a virgin. Congratulations. Um, Are you bound to a wife? Do not seek to be loosed. Are you loosed from a wife? Do not seek a wife. But even if you do marry, you have not sinned, and if a virgin marries, he has not sinned. Nevertheless, such will have trouble in the flesh, but I would spare you. And this is where I think Paul, again, going back to the thing, Paul was married, because he has some, he's got some shade for it too. He's like, listen, uh, no matter what you're doing, you're gonna have trouble in it. So just stay where you're at and try to do your best with it. Um, Verse 29 says this, but this I say, brethren, the time is short, so that from now on, even those who have wives should be as though they had none. Those who weep as though they did not weep, those who rejoice as though they did not rejoice, those who buy as though they did not possess, and those who use this world as not misusing it. For this form of this world is passing away. He's like, listen, life as it is sucks, and it's not going to remain as it is. So you gotta be on your toes. But I want you to be without care. He who is unmarried cares for the things of the Lord, and how he may please the Lord. But he who is married cares about the things of this world, and how he may please his wife. There is a difference between a wife and a virgin. The unmarried woman cares about the things of the Lord, but that she may be holy both in body and spirit. But she who is married cares about things of this world, how she may please her husband. And this I say for your own profit, not that I may put a leash on you, but for what is proper, and that you may serve the Lord without distraction. And Paul just straight up saying, listen, the more adulting you get closer to, the harder it is to actually live in freedom and to be able to live your life for God the way you want to. And it's a real thing. The more responsibilities, the more adulting that gets added to your plate, the less freedom you have to be able just to go and do the things that God would give a single person to do. Um, there's a reason why, like, I worked in college ministry forever, and college kids and high school kids have such freedom to be able to just go and do and adventure and serve in ways that you can't when you've got to be home for soccer practice and to get kids to places and certain things. There's just like a whole different level of freedom that goes with it. And and what just cracks me up is like Paul seeing this from a 2,000-year-old perspective of what life looked like then. Imagine how he would view like travel ball and dance practice and soccer and all these other things that kind of go along with what life looks like now. Um, yeah, but Paul says, I'm not trying to put a leash on you. Um, I just want you to actually be free to do the things you want to do, and specifically serving Christ in this. Verse 36 says, but if any man thinks he is behaving improperly toward his virgin, if she is past the flower of youth, and thus it must be, let him do what he wishes. He does not sin, let them marry. Nevertheless, he who stands steadfast in his heart, having no necessity, but has power over his will, and so is determined in his heart that he will keep this his virgin, does well. So then he who gives her in marriage does well, but he who does not give her in marriage does better. A wife is bound by law as long as her husband lives, but if her husband dies, She is at liberty to be married to whom she wishes, only in the Lord. But she is happier if she remains as she is, according to my judgment. But I also think I have the Spirit of God. And so Paul's just straight up giving his opinions at this point. But he's like, but I know Jesus, so my opinion counts. But Cassidy, a wife is bound by law as long as her husband lives, but if her husband dies, she is at liberty to be married to whom she wishes, only the Lord, but she is happier if she remains as she is. I love that Paul's like saying, but she's happier if she's not married. Like he's got some specific people in his mind when he's saying this. But Paul effectively looks at all of this stuff with relationships and he's like, hey, you know what? This isn't always smooth and it's harder, and it might be better if you stay single, as long as you're not losing your mind in the process. But thanks, Dice and Holy Spirit and whoever else. Um, uh, whoever else is responsible for this passage. Thanks, Paul. Um, so main passage focus, marriage, singleness, and healthy relationships. Who wrote it? Paul. Who was written to? Uh, Corinthians. Um, Why was it written? Because Paul has opinions. When was it written? First Corinthians is written. First Corinthians is written in AD 56. Tristan says, well, at least it's not Song of Solomon. Facts, bro. Facts. What I want is a podcast between Solomon and Paul on relationships. That's what I want. I want Paul and Solomon to have a podcast where Solomon's like, nah, dude, don't be single. You need 700 wives. Let's hear that conversation. Uh, um, yeah, Paul wrote this from other places. Symbolism present. I think marriage is the big symbol through all of this. Tristan said he'd be down for that podcast. Dude, I think I just the yeah. Verses that stood out. There's a few I marked, I know. Um, let's see. Verse 17, which basically stated, wherever God's put you, live it out. Cassidy says she'll be number 700. You'll be tired by the time you get to me. I'm like, Solomon had like wives and concubines in the hundreds. And I'm like, what are you doing, bro? What are you doing? And then we wonder why kids are confused when we tell them you're only supposed to have one wife and be married. Like, let's just, you read the Old Testament and like, at what point did we transition from how marriage was in the Old Testament to marriages in the New Testament? Like, at what point? Like where's that clear line in scripture that people don't really talk about? Um, Verse 25 stood out, but just because it was funny. Um, on the virgins thing. Verse 29, just saying time is short, you need to be effective. Um, yeah, I think those are the ones that stood out. Um, what can I learn from this? Handle your relationships well. Don't let them be a burden. Um, we're called to freedom and singleness and relationships can both be entrapping if not handled properly. Uh, Cassidy says somewhere between eating grapes and tearing down altars. Yeah, for real. How can I apply this to my life? Have a healthy perspective on your relationships and your time management. Was anything hard to understand? Yes, all of it. All of it was hard. Um, Pop culture parallel that reflects this passage. Um, I don't know, it's a pop culture parallel, but I think it would be really funny to see a well done like advertisement for like a dating show or like a Love Island or Love is Blind type situation using the stuff that Paul has here. Um, but I feel like dating shows and such are good pop culture parallels to just this chapter. Memeable verse in this passage. If I was making a meme just for pure entertainment and not edification, um, uh, I would do verse 25. Just the virgins, I got nothing to tell you. Um, I have no commandment from the Lord. Um, but if I was doing an actual meme with intention, um, I don't know. There's a lot of meme. There's a lot because this is just meaty. This is meaty and just very like applicable in different ways. So it's harder to just do that. Hi, Sabrina. What song would be the best soundtrack to this? What song would be the best soundtrack to this chapter? I would probably John Foreman has a song called Love or Be Patient with Me. That would be my soundtrack for this chapter. All right, so we did our news reports. We read First Corinthians chapter 7 and went through all of that with there. And now we're gonna hit up our Patreon supporters real quick for your rollouts. If you are watching on Facebook or and you want to jump over to our TikTok channel, I'm gonna hang out on TikTok while I edit the podcast stuff. Um, but Cassidy says we are never ever getting back together. Um, That's also great. But if you want to head over, sweet shirt, thank you, New Free Endings. But if you want to head over to our podcast or Patreon, whatever this TikTok is, we're going to be hanging out on TikTok while we edit. I am scheduled, or I was scheduled today to be at the Nerd Market in downtown Fayetteville, but apparently I have been left out of the event. Um, I got lost in the sauce of the applications, whatever else, but I will not be at the Nerd Market in downtown Fayetteville because it's literally at 5 o'clock today, and I've yet to be. I was told I was good. Now I'm not. So like I've not even gotten my response. So it's whatever. I could probably use a break. I still got a lot of traveling to do. Led worship every night this week for a group of students on a mission project. And uh, on Sunday, I am leaving for North Alabama to Mentone, Alabama. I will be speaking at Ponderosa Bible Camp in Mentone, Alabama, uh, Sunday through Friday, and I'll be speaking and leading worship there. And I think it's live streamed. If you care to see any of those sessions on Ponderosa's website, I believe it's live streamed. Um, it might just be for the parents, but it's live streamed, I think. Um, but I'll be there, and it'll be a good. And I do need to find my dice tower. You're right, but I'll be there and doing that. Um, it'll be a good time. But let's go to our Patreon supporters and just say thank you real quick. First of all, I want to say thank you to the Reynolds family for your grace and your gifts and how you support. So thank you for that. Um, oh, so small, my eyes are bad. Uh, Lance James, Zach T, Roshan John, Ryan Felton, Jess Luttrell from Cosplay for Christ, Jackie Kraft, Kelly Townsend, who is going through surgery right now, Alan Wallace, Fab Quack, Rivka and Tristan Birch, Dot Winston, Michelle Stewart, Lynn Turner, David Brooks, Jeff Weimer, Jamie Montgomery, Matthew Coleman, or sorry, the Coleman family, uh, Jonathan Herman, Ron Petit, Gear Saber Cosplay, and their new baby. Um, Scott Ward, Alicia Glenn, Jason Crutchfield, Mike Perna, Zach Harris, Caleb Grimm, Jeanette Skaggs, Jason Bullock, Sarah Lewis, Patrick Gale, Rebecca Godlove, and Adam Davis. Thank you all. Thanks, Jules. It's a good one too. It's a good Powerline shirt. Thank you all for supporting the way that you do and for being as encouraging as you are. I genuinely couldn't do this without y'all and the way that you help make these things possible. Um, so yeah, and Cassidy, you're absolutely welcome. And so that's our news podcast and our reading. I'm gonna hang out on TikTok and chat with folks while I'm editing. So if you want to come hang out on TikTok, come on over. And Jules, I appreciate you. It's good to see your face. But thank y'all for taking time to listen, for encouraging. Also, yeah, I got our goodbye verse that I always forget, but it's always good because I usually always remember. Um, 3rd John 2, uh, do 3rd John 2, Beloved, I pray that you may prosper in all things and be in health, just as your soul prospers. Um, so thank y'all for taking the time to listen, to encourage, and I hope to see you all at a con real soon. Bye, y'all. Stop there. Recording.